Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and sorry I haven't made a video in a while. The system test video is coming soon, today, but for now I'm making this video on how to do an Everson hockey scoreboard. So it's very simple. So first you're going to want to locate the press box. Right now it is not in the press box. I have moved it out into the bench, but you want to locate the controller in the press box, and this is the scoreboard over here if it would focus. But the scoreboard is on, so you do want to make sure the scoreboard is on before you do anything. So that's all on. So now we're just going to need to go back here and turn the controller on. So with the brand Everson, you can find it usually by going back towards the back of the controller, and you'll see the switch, and you want to press on. And now you see that this display is turning on, and the controller is now on. But with this particular model, you can do hockey or lacrosse. So as it says right here, it says please select 1 for hockey and 2 for lacrosse. So, but for today's video, I'm going to be doing hockey. So we're going to select 1 for hockey, and then you'd see it's to the whole hockey with mini screen, and same thing up there. If it will focus, please focus. Okay, yep. And right now it's on 20 minutes, so I'm going to put it to 0, and it's for some reason reset. And then, okay, so now it's at 0. You can see up here too. It's for settings for some reason. The ones at this particular rink reset sometimes back to its how it originally been, but that doesn't really matter right now, because right now we're just going to go over the basic functions of this, and we'll get to setting time and later in the video. So once you walk up, you're gonna see this most likely. Brightness, that doesn't matter. You don't really need to touch that. Once you just press this button, it usually just lowers and the brightness of the scoreboard, or makes it more brighter. So that's all that does. You don't really need to touch that. Intermission and shot clock. Shot clock isn't going to be on most of them. I accidentally pressed a button, but shot clock isn't going to be on most of them because that's for lacrosse. And intermission is going to be on them. Sorry, but intermission is going to be on them. Usually where brightness would be, but that's going to come in handy later. So right off the bat, you're going to see home, away, this whole number pad. And then you're going to see shots on goals on this side and shots on goals on this side. And then also on each side, you're going to see player penalty and player penalty over here. And also horn. So that's the basic run through, and you can see on this number pad, it goes through all the numbers. So let's get into this. So since I told you guys all the numbers, and buttons, I'll get into how you use them. So on the scoreboard back over here, with this focus, you can see there's all zeros on the bottom portion, and so it says shot on goals on the left, and then it says home, and then it says period in the middle, and then it says guess 0, and then shot on goals again. So basically each side is for one team. So guessed and shot on goal is one side, home and shot on goal is another side. And then I don't know if you can see, but right above them are 2 penalty clocks. Some might have 1, some might have 3, but most common is 2. So yeah, so that's basically one side for each team. And I forgot to mention that period right there. It's right there. So that's how you can change the period. and it goes up to 4 usually, because first period, second period, third period is a normal length game, and then you have 4 for, like, I'm guessing, well, you have it for lacrosse, because I think there's like 4 quarters in lacrosse. And in hockey, sometimes if it's tie, it goes into overtime, so you can put that to 4. But yeah, that's basically that. And like I told you, the scoreboard sides on here, if it will focus. Well, yep, it just focused. But they kind of correspond to this controller. So like you see, guests and shots on goal were on the right side, and they're on the right side on the scoreboard. And home and shots on goals are on the left side, and they're on the left side of the scoreboard. So that helps. So is the penalties on both sides. So let's get into how to put stuff on the board. So this home button, if you press it, you'll see that it goes on the little display here, and you can press this as many times as you'd like, and it's gonna go on the scoreboard just like that. See, I'm gonna press it again for you guys to see. So yeah, and actually how to get them off, well, I'm gonna do the same thing with shots on goals. You just go to this button right here and then press it a couple times, and it'll do the same exact thing. See? Yep. So it'll do the same exact thing. But how to take the goals off, so you want to locate your buttons, and then let's say a team had 3 goals, but you accidentally put 4 up, and you need to take one off so it's right. You press the home button, you hold it down, and it will start taking them off. See? And I held it for too long, so after it gets below 0, it starts at 90. So put that up back to 0, and I'll put it back to like 4 or something, and zoom in. And on the home goals, I'm pressing it down, and you can see it's going off. And I pressed it too many times, so I put one back up. Now I'm doing the same exact thing for the shots on goals. Sorry, my hand's shaky, but yeah, same exact thing for this side. So now we basically got these 4 buttons covered. So you have now learned how to do these 4 basic buttons. And next, we are going to be getting in how to actually set the clock. And this is really simple once you get to know it, and it's even simple for beginners. So right now, I'm just going to set it to 0 because it's on 20 minutes. I think if you press that down, yeah, I hope it doesn't set back to 20 in a couple seconds, but okay, so now we're going to set the time. And to do that, before you put any number, like you want to put any number on the clock time, you gotta press time and then the number you want on the keypad. So, for example, let's say you wanted 20 minutes. You would press time and then locate the 2, press 2, and then 0, and then 0, 0, 0, 0. The reason you want to do that is because all zeros for seconds and all zeros for milliseconds, so it's all clear. But usually when the clock's all zeros, you only gotta press 2 and it'll go to 0, and then it'll do all the zeros automatically. And so now, let's say you want to get a single digit number in. So if you want to do that, you press time, and let's say you want 1 minute, you press 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, but it's not 1, it says 10, so how do you do that? So you actually press 10, and then 0, 1, So, and then now it's 1 minute. So for all your single digit numbers, before you actually put the number you want, you gotta press 0 before it, for all your single digit numbers. And for all your double digit numbers, you wanna press just your double digit number you want. So I think that has a brief rundown with that. And also, while I'm on the number pad, you can see the period. Once I press that button, it works and it goes up. Let's see. And this one only goes up to 3, so like all scoreboards are different, so this one only goes up to 3. And now we are going to do penalties. So it's really simple. So you need to put a penalty up, you need to press player penalty, and then the number you want. So like, let's say you wanted number 20, you'd press 2, 0. Well, now it just reset on me because I wasn't fast enough, but press player penalty, and you want 20, 2, 20, and then you want 2 minutes, and then you press 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then it has it up. So let's look at that on the scoreboard. Oh, the scoreboard turned off. Here, let me turn that back on. Sorry, guys. Okay, guys, so we're back. I turned the scoreboard on. I think it was like on a timer or something, or someone accidentally turned it off, but as you can see, it's back on. And as you can see from a second ago, it is on number 1 on the time, because that's what we set it to. But now we are back on penalties, so let's get back on penalties. So like I said, if you want to have player 20, you press player penalty, and then you press 2, 0, and you want it 2 minutes, so 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then it will set. And it's the same thing on each side, so that's player 20 for 2 minutes. But let's say you didn't want 2 minutes, or you didn't want player 20, because in youth hockey in my area, the penalties are either usually 1 minute or a minute 30. So what do? So you press player penalty, and then you press you want number 20, and then you press 1, 3, 0, 0, 0, and then player 20 would have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Same thing on each side. But let's say you only want 1 minute. Well, same thing as the 2. So you press player penalty, number 20 or whatever number, and then you press 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then it changed the 1 minute. But like always, same thing as a time. What if you want a 1-digit number? Well, you got press player penalty, and let's say you want number 2. So you put 0, 2, and then you want 1 minute, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then, as you can see on the bottom penalty, there's number 2 for 1 minute. And same exact thing as the top, where like if you wanted number 2 for like 5 minutes, or like a double digit number, or like, well, it's kind of unlikely unless it's a 10, but like if like you wanted number like 20 or something, it's the same exact thing. So now we're gonna get into taking penalties off, and this is really simple as well. So first, you're gonna want to go look at the scoreboard and check which side your penalties are on. And for ours, they're on the home side. So there's 2 penalties on the home. But what if we accidentally messed up and we were supposed to put player 2 on, but we accidentally did player 20 before? So we're gonna need to take that off. So now that we got one of the right penalties on the bottom, we gotta take the top one off, because number 2 had the penalty, not number 20. So, very simple. If you want number 20 off, you press player penalty on that corresponding side that the penalty is on the team, and you press player penalty, and then for instance you want number 20 off, so player penalty 2-0 and then 0-0-0-0, and then as you can see it took number 20 off, and now we have number 2 and it switched to the top. So that's what we do. And the same thing where if we want to take off a one-digit number, we gotta do the same thing but put a 0 in front of it. So we press player penalty on the side the penalty's on, and press player penalty, and it's number 2. So 0-2 and then 0-0-0-0. And as you can see, now the penalty is off. And it is the same exact thing for each side. But I do want to tell you something. So some of these Everson scoreboard controllers, like for instance, there's one near my house, and it's a little bit different because to put a penalty up, usually on that rink, you press player penalty, and if you wanted number 20, you'd press 2-0, and then you'd have to press 0 again, and then the number of minutes you want. So that's what you gotta do sometimes in some cases if this doesn't work, because if it was like the other controller, how you need to put like your number and then press another 0 and then the minutes, and you did it the way I showed before, and you wanted like 1 minute, it'd be like 1 second. So that's something to look out for. But oh yeah, there's still one more thing. Horn. So this one, I am at the Utica University Nexus Center, so there are 3 different rinks, but there's like 2. This is like 1 rink, but it's in the lacrosse field right now. But so, and if you look over there, the rink is like right next door, so there's another scoreboard there. So when there's 2 games going on at once, this horn's like the other horn, like it's like a little alarm, and that's regular over there. But I'm not going to show that because that one isn't on right now. But that's why this one was like an alarm sound. But there's like one more thing I want to go over. So at the start of the episode, I did mention this intermission button, and you're probably wondering what it is. So if you're into hockey, usually you would probably know that like there's an intermission. So that means like there's a set amount of time in between periods for like the players to rest and do everything before the next period. So what do you do? Because when like that is like in youth hockey, it's usually like a minute, and you put a minute on the clock to run down for the intermission. And when the horn blows after a minute, all the teams gotta go to line up for the face-off. But the reason this intermission is here, because let's say it's the end of the first period. Here, let me reset that to 0. Time 0. Okay, so now that is at 0, and let's say there's a penalty on the clock. So I just put a penalty with 20 seconds left because that's probably how much there'd be left. So, and let's say it's the end of the period and there's still a penalty up, and there you put a minute on the clock and start the clock by hitting, didn't show you this yet, but by hitting that button, and then the minute would count down, but also your penalty would, and then you'd have to do it all again. Maybe you wouldn't even know how much time was left before. So you'd stop the clock, and then that's all stopped, and then you'd press time 01 for your minute, and then now you have a minute back on the board for intermission. And let's say there's 20 seconds left of your penalty, so you'd press player penalty 02 02 0000, and that'd reset. But what if you want to run down your clock like we did earlier? So you'd press intermission, and then you 01 0000, and then there's 1 minute left on the board. And then since you press that intermission button, once you press this button, the clock would run down and the penalty will stay up. That's kind of neat. I like that feature. So you can run down your intermission without your penalties. And I'm pretty sure at the end you got re-hit intermission. So it's like, so it's not, so the penalty is like not like running down once the period starts. Pretty sure you gotta do that. But that's all for this video. And this was how to do, how to control an Everson scoreboard 101. But the model is this. That's the model number. And that's how to do the scoreboard on this particular scoreboard controller and other ones just like this. I know this isn't the content I usually do, but if you're new to the channel and you watch this video, I make like fire alarm content, being like I make fire alarm videos, like commercial fire alarms and like electrical. I do hockey too because I like that, but not as often. But if you like this video and you guys want to see this more often, then please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. We need one last thing.